Welcome. When it comes to the party house in the Noah Presgrove case, it's a bit of a sub-mystery itself as to who actually attended. It was said 30 to 40 people were there present at some time, but as for named individuals, not all identities were revealed. I wonder why. Nevertheless, one key person which has come up in discussion, very brief, was Stephanie Milan, supposedly a sister to Jasmine Milan, the mother known as Renee Milan. But when you compare what Stephanie stated compared to what Kaden Pressy, another witness at the party, mentioned, there appears to be a big contrast. But why is that the case? Furthermore, why has Stephanie Milan gone under the radar for so long when other named individuals have come up in conversation over time? Even they themselves have been very vocal, yet Stephanie hasn't. Join me today as we look a little bit closer and reflect back on what Stephanie had to say regarding the party as a witness and how it greatly differs to what Kaden Pressy has stated in the private leaked interview. First, we start off with what Stephanie Milan had to say as a witness. The context of this was a Snapchat conversation between a stranger online and Stephanie herself. Now, there was a middleman that did get involved, known as Colton Newton, but more about that later. What we need to take a look at is the details here. How much did Stephanie know, and what did she truly see? If I zoom in just a little bit, pardon if it is blurry. This individual online, a stranger, said, "Do you know who was at the party in Terrell Saturday?" Interesting how Saturday is the focal point when it's Monday, when all the darkness went down. Nevertheless, Stephanie says, "Yes, I was there Saturday." Now, the interesting contrast to that is that when it came to Kaden Pressy in the Partners in True Crime interview, Kaden stated that there was only a handful of people present on Saturday because it was long-time friends. And out of all the names he mentioned out of the hat, I don't believe Stephanie Milan's name was brought up, only Jasmine Milan. Why was Stephanie left out if she was actually there? And if it was long-time friends, how come she wasn't acknowledged by other partygoers when recounting stories? This is what I mean, she has gone under the radar. For good reason? Is it convenient for them, or is it just a mere coincidence? Because there are a couple of other people that were there Saturday, like Shane D and possibly Travis and some others, but their names were never brought up or mentioned by the likes of Kaden Pressy and or other people. Let's take that in mind. Now, the stranger online responded, "Can you maybe tell me everyone you remember being present?" And Stephanie acts defensive immediately. Why? Why should I do that? They're just simply curious. Stephanie responds, "Oh, I don't really think it matters who was there. Just a bunch of friends hanging out." Oh yeah, just a bunch of friends in which your name wasn't mentioned when others were recalling who was actually present, as in long-time friends. Is Stephanie not a long-time friend then? And just to minimalize it, oh, it doesn't matter who was there or not. We're having a party. Does it matter? It does matter when you need to identify potential witnesses, identify any culprits, etc. But it's interesting how we're just focusing on Saturday here. Now, was there any other days Stephanie Milan attended the party? Did she remain? Did she come or go? I wonder. The online user responds, "It does matter when one of your friend dies right at the party." Now, it's interesting how this stranger online stated that Noah died at the party, not along the highway. Does Stephanie, counter that? She simply says, "I know, I was there, and Noah was a very close friend of mine, but it doesn't matter who was all there. They had nothing to do with it." So all Stephanie is doing here is defending everyone that was present and saying none of them had anything to do with Noah's death, but Stephanie is not mentioning anything to do with a hit and run or not, whether it was an accident or not. So that's kind of interesting. The online user responds, "They may not have anything to do with it. I'm just trying to find some sort of closure like anyone else. Wanting to know when he was last seen alive, it would really help if you could tell me something." While Stephanie has gone under the radar and hasn't been mentioned much at all by other witnesses, nor in discussions on public forums, etc. That's why we're doing the video right now. Coming across as a bit defensive, check. Coming across as damage limitation, check. Coming across as manipulative, self-manipulative, or external manipulative minimalization, check. Just like Jack Newton, check. Just like Brooke Bounce-Carter, check. Something may have happened, something bad, negative, but play it down. The importance, the role of certain factors and variables that need to be looked into, check. Do we have a full house? Maybe. But it's interesting how Stephanie doesn't completely deny or give a clear explanation as to how Noah died. For Stephanie to say there was no one at the party responsible for Noah's death, but for the online user to say that Noah died after the party, but possibly interpreted at the party. No question of, it was on the highway, or no, it was on our land, or their land, the ones who own it. Interesting. We're not finished yet, though, because we've got the other responses here. In response to do with the conversation Stephanie mentioned regarding Noah wandering off, Noah walked off to clear his head and never came back. Everything else about the story will be released to the news tomorrow. I'm not supposed to say anything else. Now, what else is there to say, I wonder? And when it comes to more recent time, that leaked interview Kaden Pressy, the police one, Kaden said he was told by Jasmine Milan, the sister of Stephanie Milan, that Noah wandered off in between 2 to 3 in the morning. And Jack's the one that said 3:30 when Noah wandered off and never came back. So who's right in all of this? Did Noah walk off multiple times, return back, but then the very final time at 3:30 roughly, he just didn't make it back because that's when he was taken out? One way of looking at it. But the way Stephanie words it here, she does not give a timestamp as when it happened. Does she mention that she witnessed it or not? Not from the looks of it. Me responds, so he didn't take off on an ATV with someone else? And Stephanie says, no. Earlier that night, he was, and he flipped it, the side by side. But then after that, he was just hanging out at the house like he turned it on its side, but they flipped it back on its wheels. Really minimizing what actually happened. We just simply flipped it over or rolled it over, and it was put back on its right side. He remained at the party house like nothing went wrong and just continued on? I don't think so. It just so happens that within that private interview, Kaden Pressy stated he saw the video of the flip over or roll over at around 2:40 a.m. Now Kaden was asleep at that time. 2 minutes later he woke up at 2:42 when his mother called him regarding the cousin making it back home safely. And whilst Kaden wasn't aware of it at the time in the moment, he was shown later the video footage of the timestamp 2:40, which showed Noah getting out of the vehicle bloodied with a nose, injured clearly. Not looks good, does it? One of the additional reasons for having a wash down, a shower possibly. So it wasn't as simple as flipping or rolling it over and moving on like nothing happened. Noah was injured, yet Stephanie doesn't seem to acknowledge that. Whether that be because she was there to witness it or not, who knows? Because the rollover supposedly occurred around Monday morning, even now how it's worded here by Stephanie, Sunday night, which is a bit dodgy. But maybe they mean Monday, it's just a crossover. Nevertheless, earlier conversation was about Saturday, so I don't know if Stephanie Milan was at the party all the days or not. Me responds back with, okay, I guess the story about him having beef with someone is true since he walked away and was mad? Question. Now, Noah supposedly had some arguments with Jack Newton run-ins, and how it was told from Kaden Pressy in the private interview was very eye-opening. Yet Stephanie Milan here states that no, we don't know why he got mad in terms of walking away and never coming back, and no one had beef with Noah. Is that so? Interesting what Stephanie states here. So Stephanie must have been present over the days to know whether or not there was beef or trouble. Yet Kaden Pressy was also present around the time, and he saw and heard more. Because when we refer back to Saturday, whether that be Saturday just lunchtime or after, or late at night, depending at what point it occurred, that Noah and Jack, best friends, got into a bit of an argument, and whilst it may have been resolved later, there was an argument, and it reoccurred on the Monday too, described by Justin Roy as more aggressive, pushing, shoving, physical contact. Who knows what happened after that? Who knows if it did escalate or not? But we're just focusing in on the beef sector. Stephanie says, nope, no one had any issues with Noah or vice versa. Yet Kaden Pressy in a private interview said on the Saturday it was Noah Presgrove that had a go at Jack, that Noah was yelling at Jack Newton because supposedly Jack was flirting with Noah's girlfriend at the time, who wasn't even at the party. So that's interesting to try and work out, isn't it? And how it was told in the past that it was Jack who was the problem, that it was Jack who was pissed off. Jack was pissed off. And yet, how Kaden worded it, it was Noah that had the issue, that Noah was somewhat angry. How far the tables have turned. And in between, over the party, there was supposed a confrontation, whether that be face-to-face or over text or phone communication, with older young brother Jack Newton, Colton Newton, in which Colton, the older brother, was told not to come back the following day, Sunday, because of talking to Carter Combs, which Jack was the boyfriend to Carter Combs. A form of jealousy, who knows? But whilst that's away from Noah Presgrove, it's yet another bit of conflict. Then you had the other conflict, which may have been Sunday night between, it was Noah Presgrove and Mikey Lair, when it came to not being able to find a phone, and Mikey took it out on Noah, and Noah retaliated back by biting his finger when fish hooked. Nevertheless, there was a bit of tension on and off. You go to Monday, whether that be the tension with Noah Presgrove and Avery Combs, the sleeping situation, or if not that, before, I believe possibly on a Saturday, when Avery supposedly saw Noah and Logan Jernigan sleeping on the floor near to one another, and Avery supposedly said, "You better have not done anything together or I'll kill you." That's what Kaden worded in his private interview. And furthermore, what was also brought up, another point, was the exchange of words when it came to Avery Combs in the bedroom and Noah wanting to sleep in the bed, and it didn't quite work out, and Noah responded back with an insulting line and rude word, and Avery responded saying, "Say that again and I'll kill you." More tension once again. Threatening language used, maybe not intended at the time, but when retrospectively looking back at it, it does make you question. And this is quoted, re-quoted from the partners in true crime interviews, or more so the private interview, when some never seen or heard before details came about. And you may be wondering, why am I simply narrating? Why am I not showing it or the audio? It's simply because of legal reasons, and furthermore to avoid any further unnecessary trouble, because it was a private one. It shouldn't have been released. If footage was to be posted here, who knows what would happen to my channel. So we got to give and take. But there is that video still out there on YouTube if you wanted to look for it yourself. All I can say is what I'm re-quoting is said with absolute confidence and certainty, so you can trust it based off relaying what Kaden said, because I remember hearing it myself when I saw that video in the past and made notes. The main thing is what Kaden states is a big contrast to what Stephanie says here. Stephanie's overall attitude is pretty casual and downplaying things. There wasn't any issues here. It wasn't that big of a deal, that rollover. Noah got on with it. But he was injured. That's pretty bad. Noah had arguments with Jack. Jack had arguments with Noah. Noah had trouble with Mikey. Noah had trouble with Avery. You can see how the tension builds with time, and yet Stephanie is completely clueless to all of that. Whether it be she is clueless or she's playing a certain role, who knows, but the fact that she's gone under the radar and no one has really questioned her before is a little bit worrying. Why? And some could say because they're innocent, but there could be other people out there who are innocent too, yet they've been questioned heavily. Even Kaden Pressy, who's been quite vocal, trying to be consistent, trying to help make sense of things and the general public, and yet even Kaden has been questioned a lot, so there's no harm in doing the same with everyone, because you never know what you might find. But I want to know your thoughts down below. The fact that Stephanie says that she was there at the party as a party goer and witness, and yet some of the details that she's given aren't consistent with what Kaden Pressy has stated, and that is arguably problematic. Now, some of you may be wondering, what did Kaden Pressy state? Well, if we dial the clocks forwards at around 6:30 a.m, the time of when Kaden said Renee Milan arrived at the party house. Renee Milan, the mother to Jasmine and Stephanie Milan. But whilst in Partners in True Crime, Kaden only referred to the mother's name. In the private interview, Kaden stated that the mother Renee, her husband, and daughter Stephanie Milan, Stephanie's boyfriend, all arrived at the party house, wording it as if it was the first time they made their appearance at the place over the weekend, and yet Stephanie Milan is the one claiming to have been at the party before that, and for more than a few days to actually know what happened and what didn't. Yet Kaden Pressy only refers to Stephanie's name as on Monday 6:30 onwards. No mention of her name beforehand or being present at the party. What's that all about? Now, Kaden isn't the only one to reference Stephanie's name. More so, Kaden's mom, Alicia Lee, has spoken out too. I've got a couple of screenshots here in reference to it, and it's quite eye-opening, but it's also consistent. First of all, though, Alicia Lee did leave a comment within the live chat of a video of mine 3 to 4 days ago, saying that we appreciate Warlight Wrath and the continued coverage on Noah's case. #justice for Noah. Obviously, that is a good thing to hear when you've got dark forces, people out there within the case or outsiders, civilians, that try to silence me. So it's key to acknowledge these points. Credit to Alicia Lee, shout out. But furthermore, where it gets more important is actually in relation to the interview that I've been re-quoting as of today's video, the private one of Kaden with the police, and Alicia Lee says that yes, I am. It wasn't leaked, though. Someone hacked my Dropbox account. And I do remember on Facebook a reference to a Dropbox account being referenced, it being set up, and the file audio or so being put into it. For what use or what purpose, I'm not too sure. Maybe for the future it would be shared or it would be used for the case, for justice. But has it been harmed since? Does it discredit it all? When someone hacks in, who knows? How badly does it impact the case? It's at least opened our eyes when trying to learn about it and what's what, with some extra details along the way with the timeline. And that's why we're here right now, focusing on Stephanie Milan. But an individual hacked Alicia Lee's Dropbox account, and as well, she says, along with my phone, our home internet, and security cameras. It just so happens that there have been other people on Facebook that have been hacked, Facebook accounts, their home systems, all kinds of dark stuff going on. But what's the purpose behind it, and why are people doing it? As a deterrent to scare people off from getting too close to the truth, to silence them? Who knows? Alicia does say that we have a cybersecurity company handling it. We'll see what happens next. As for me, I am okay at this moment in time, despite threats being aimed my way. Time will tell, of course, but some weird, dark things are going on. And the patterns that we're seeing when it gets close to the truth, or a wave of energy coming about, maybe progress being made, that's when it seems to rattle the cages with the darkness and they retaliate back. So you could take it as a possible sign. But in relation to Stephanie Milan, I asked the question, was Stephanie a party goer or just attended when Renee went to the party house, basically at 6:30 a.m. after the party ended? Now, Alicia Lee responds saying, Stephanie Milan came with her mom Renee. The mom Renee and husband, along with Stephanie's boyfriend. So that was quite interesting, consistent with what Kaden said in the private interview. And I responded with a correction, not Renee, but okay. It's that Stephanie Milan on Snapchat stated that she was actually at the party and said there were no arguments, no one had beef with Noah, etc. I wonder why she lied, or at least worded it that way, which comes across as a lie. And Alicia Lee responds, I wish I knew the answer to that, but she has been extremely dishonest. I wonder in what other ways Stephanie Milan has been dishonest. If anyone does know, feel free to drop a comment down below under this video. From the Snapchat messages that we saw, some of the points that she did make weren't entirely true, and some of it was a little bit minimised from what Kaden Pressy has seen and witnessed since he was a party goer himself. Now, if Stephanie Milan has been dishonest and lied here and there, is that to cover for herself, or somebody, or some people? Considering that she's gone under the radar for so long, is there a reason for that? She's not really been mentioned either by key people within the case. When stories have changed, her name hasn't really come up much. I mean, Logan Jernigan's name has been brought up, the last time in Partners in True Crime by Jack Newton, out of nowhere. Will we see the time where Stephanie's name gets pulled out of the hat? I wonder. Time will tell. But the only little key connection that I noticed, a form of defensiveness outwards by an external individual, was Jack Newton's older brother, Colton Newton. This is what Colton had to say in response to the stranger online that questioned Stephanie. Colton responded with, "Hey pal, you stay the F out of the Milan's messages or I'll come find you, bud." Quite direct, threatening language displayed by Colton, but why? Why the defensiveness when it comes to the Milan family as a whole? What about Carter Combs? What about Avery Combs? You know, there's many other party goers and other families out and about in that area and further afar, and yet it's Colton Newton that focuses with the Milans. When it comes to other text messages with time, they've been leaked or publicly revealed in some way, there's not really been too much resistance in the background. But for a civilian to simply reach out to Stephanie and for some kind of consent to be given in which Stephanie is comfortable enough in answering certain questions and that's simply it, why does it concern Colton so much? Is it because he's close to Stephanie Milan? Were they together? Are they? Were they both at the party at the same time? There's different ways of looking at it. Because besides being defensive, Colton Newton, it's not the first time he's used threatening language, more so in recent time compared to the last screenshot. He said on Snapchat, "If you think I had anything to do with Noah's death, come on down to Comanche and let's talk about it." Now, communication can occur digitally, which is more practical, time efficient and money-wise efficient, but it appears that Colton wants face-to-face contact within arm's reach. Who knows what's waiting in Comanche? It could be a trap, you never know. And besides the threats by Colton and the defensive nature of the Milan family, for whatever reason that is, Colton himself did say that I was at the party the night before Noah died. And it just so happened that in the Snapchat conversation, what we saw earlier today with Stephanie Milan, she directly responded to the question of, were you there Saturday? And she said yes. So what other named individuals were present Saturday? And why did Kaden Pressy not reference those names originally, such as in Partners in True Crime interview? Is it because these particular named individuals are key within the case and with the ongoing investigations? Could it be wherever Stephanie Milan goes, Colton follows, or whatever Stephanie Milan does or says or comes across, Colton will defend her? Who knows? Why is it with these different family ties or connections? I mean, we've heard reference to Colton Newton talking to Carter Combs at the party, and Jack got jealous of that, yet Colton is being very defensive of Stephanie when a person of the general public simply reaches out with some simple questions. Why jumping the gun? That defensiveness, that, you know, without thinking before you type, leads to this type of behaviour. So could this level of resistance be pushing people away from getting too close to the truth? Is there a possibility that Colton was present at a time when something happened to Noah? Or even Stephanie Milan present at the time? Maybe even both. You never know. With the theme and patterns of dishonesty, contradictions, backtracking on a previous story, it does create a lot of instability, but also it reveals more suspicion within some over others, and maybe that does apply to Colton, and maybe even Stephanie Milan. When certain names go under the radar too and aren't referenced, it does make you think why. And even the general public, when it comes to certain communities, I'm just surprised I haven't mentioned her name much. I seem to be the only one, especially on YouTube, that has specifically focused in on what happened Friday and what about Stephanie Milan. Two key themes which have been a bit quiet, but hopefully this video and discussion kind of raises a bit of awareness for the ongoing stuff within the case, and you can let me know any additional thoughts or questions down below in the comments section. If you're simply interested in catching up on recent videos of mine, you'll see the eye symbol top right corner of the screen, click up there. If you do want to support this channel, there is a pinned message down below with additional links to follow. Credit shout out to those that have in recent time. With that all being said, hopefully you found the video interesting. Feel free to like and share to spread that awareness, and we'll see what happens next. For now, good night and goodbye.